The idea, sometimes I think about Trump as the doctor who has to break a bone that has been misset in the hopes that it can finally heal properly. And this is one of the places where you and I are.
Except he's a doctor who doesn't know which bone he has in hand and isn't actually intending to heal you. So it's the happy accident of the doctor the madman who happens to have a hold of the right femur and is breaking it for the wrong reasons, but to good effect.
Right, or is a doctorate in folklore and from some non-accredited university.
Yeah. So sorry to keep segueing on you, but I know you have a passion for India. I remember once traveling in India and seeing somebody's, a doctor's, it was actually a dentist's shingle, and it was Western trained dentist, and in parentheses, failed. But having just made the attempt was enough to put that on the shingle.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
I mean, that does sound good. So I think you get Trump wrong.
Right.
And it's not, I see what you see. And it's maddening. It's driving me crazy. The idea of spending 4 more precious years of my dwindling life talking about whatever Trump last said or tweeted, or worried that I don't know what would happen if we actually had a 5-alarm fire in the U.S. that had to be handled.
Do you think my model of his mind is wrong, or my model of the consequences of him being in office is wrong?
Well, I think that you were slow to give him his due. I mean, of course, as you know, I wrote this essay on kayfabe,
right?
Anticipating that professional wrestling was going to turn out to be incredibly important. And in fact, I thought it was going to determine the presidency. That was a belief I had, that understanding how lies play within the mind and how hypocrisy works, and a concept called namespaces out of Python programming and the like, how we compartmentalize, led me to believe that in essence, I'd seen these other candidacies in other countries in which people seem not to be able to distinguish an actor from the character that they played, and whatnot. And so I believed that the system of lies within professional wrestling told us what was possible. And Trump actually sort of came out of the WWE through his association with the McMahon family. Yeah. And I believe that he actually understood deep things that psychology departments will wake up to 20 years from now.
I guess I've suggested by analogy to the Chauncey Gardner effect, or the evil Chauncey Gardner effect.
Well, but
that's wrong.
I think,
but it's hard to know. That could happen. I mean, it's definitely falsifiable. My theory is falsifiable. He could prove to me with a string of utterances that he's the evil genius that I haven't imagined him to be. But he hasn't done that.
If you and I had a couple of old fashions between us, and we sat down with 1,000 of his tweets, we could figure out that there were recurrent structures, and we could write an ELIZA program to generate them to tangle Democrats. I think that there's much more method to the madness, and I don't have to go full Scott Adams. Scott, I know you're out there somewhere. Yeah. To say that everything is intentional and brilliant. I just think he's got it was for years I said that if you wanted to win an election against a Democrat, you just would talk about the nuclear family, let them correct you to nuclear, right, and then you'd win because you come across as an ass.
Yeah,
right, yeah. Exactly. So I think that there is a certain amount of method that you were slow to give him credit for, but I think you're probably inching towards the idea that if he's not an evil genius, he has some evil genius.
I think it's just, again, I'm enamored of my Chauncey Gardner analogy.
All right.
Well, here's another analogy that is even simpler and more easier to confirm. It's clear there's a method, but I think it's just a very simple method that the power of which is an accident of the context. So it's like an Instagram model has a method, right? If you have a great body, show it to great effect on your Instagram channel, and then wait around for people to follow you, right? So it's a very simple formula. There's no question it works. There's not a lot of method to it.
But even the rallies that he likes, the rallies are a feedback mechanism.
Right.
So he knows that the feedback that he's getting from the press in general has a constant distortion. And so by holding a rally, he can figure out to some extent, it's like constant A/B testing.
But it doesn't have the fact that he wasn't canceled for one of his sins.
He was.
No, but the fact that there are enough people to insulate. He has enough fans of this style of communication and living that he's uncancelable, right? The fact that we have 40%.
He's canceled.
No, but we have 40% of the American population that fundamentally does not care about any of the things I care about in him.
I disagree with this, Sam. I think you're getting this wrong. This is what I think might be interesting.
Okay.
And I'm happy to be wrong too.
So you think at what point?
I think that we're still in the stage of being so angry at Bill Clintonism.
Yeah.
That we just want to know you're not owned. We want something that convinces us that it's not taking orders.
But we're completely insouciant on the point of you potentially being owned by the Russians when that begins to get leaked.
Believe me, I think about this. I don't know. I haven't followed all the details. It's possible he's compromised and under direct control.
Well, let's just bracket that. Let's say we don't know. But when that begins to become a story and a credible story, zero interest from the people who are worried about him being owned by the usual suspects.
See, you don't carry the same anger and passion that I do for getting rid of the rot that was the American center. In other words, I believe one of the things that I find very confusing is that you and I think, would normally have been called centrists.
Right.
But we're not kleptocentrists. I mean, I've never been in a position to loot the treasury from the position of being a centrist.
Right.
So the interesting thing about the center is that the center produces the blank canvas of America on which we get to paint. So I'm not really super excited to get a politician that makes me swoon. I want somebody to just gesso a canvas so that we can build all of the companies and nonprofits and do all the beautiful work that makes this country amazing. I'm not trying to get my entertainment from government. The thing that crept in to our system with Reagan and Bush giving way to the Clintons, back to Bush, and then bizarrely, I thought Obama was going to be a break from this. That thing induces a passion in some of us to get rid of it. We hate it. And I don't know that you carry that passion. And so I think it's harder for you to understand it. And I carry it not from a right-wing perspective. I carry it from a progressive to center-left position.
Well, and some of this comes back to the hypocrisy point I was making before. So I have that Trumpian module in my brain that feels just the pure schadenfreude of seeing Justin Trudeau get hoisted on his own petard, right? So he here's this sanctimonious enforcer of woke culture, just pandering to the left. It's clearly unsustainable. It's clearly dishonest. And unworkable. And we offline we spoke about just that moment where he's admonishing this elementary school age girl when she says the word mankind, which is it's great to hear a sixth grader use the word mankind, but he says no, we say people kind. Maybe they say people kind up in Canada. I haven't heard that, but even just saying humankind there and enforcing that taboo there was that's the elitism, the goofy elitism that
yeah, but it's not the elitism. It's the fact that these people have been picking our pockets and they've been divorcing us from each other. I'm
just saying, I get let's just watch these fuckers burn stream of pleasure that you can get coursing in your brain.
Right.
And that explains a lot of the Trump phenomenon, where it's just on some level, they don't care that he's the most odious liar we've ever seen, they being his fan base. They just love to see him wind up the libtards, right? They love to see
not
him
the libtards. Sam, I'm really trying to get at something. I may be wrong, so forgive me if I'm going off on a tangent. But I really think that there was something much more evil. It wasn't just that these people were sneering at us over crudité. It's that they were picking our pockets. They were divorcing us from each other. They came up with a bullshit ideology, if you will, of the Davos flavor that said, we are the world, and divorced us from each other in terms of our obligations to fellow countrymen above our obligations to people who, live abroad. When that was really a cover for figuring out how to make money when we were largely, in many ways, stagnant. And so you had a class of people who probably blew out the Gini coefficient for the U.S. without getting to the real issues of the fact that we're a country, that we put people in uniform and send them into harm's way, that we have a higher duty and care in most of our minds to each other than we do to equally deserving people overseas.
But for the most part, the left was the political party that everyone was part of that same extractive economy, but the left at least paid lip service to the virtue of spreading the wealth around.
Well, there's this poem by Lewis Carroll about the walrus and the carpenter in one of the Alice sagas. And they're both going to trick a bunch of oysters into following them and then eating the oysters. And one of them is quite clear about his desire to eat oysters. And the other one makes a big show of how sad it is that they played a little trick and all of them were eaten. And the key question is, which of these two figures is more reprehensible? And I always disliked the one who was terribly sad about what they'd done. And I think that's the left.